Namaskar. The Gunner site is back. Today is Monday, and a very important topic that needs to be discussed. In fact, two topics that we are going to discuss. Let's welcome the General Ravi Shankar, General Raj Shukla, and General Harimohan Iyer. Namaskaram to all of you, sir.
Namaskar and thanks a lot.
Who would like to bat first today? I didn't I didn't run it by you. Uh, General Ravi Shankar, let's start with you because we have been talking about India-US alignment. What came out today could have been construed as something to just take the edge off of the verdict that came in Bangladesh. I mean, these days things have become so convoluted, but I'll give you the floor, sir. Let's take a look at the India-US alignment. There was a big deal on the liquefied natural gas. See, there are some confusions. LNG is different from LPG, according to me. I don't know. I could be wrong about this. Over to you, sir.
Well, it doesn't matter whether you call it LNG or LPG, it's all gas, right? The thing is, this is a 1-year deal, which is normally not done because all these are on spot prices, 1 month, 2 months, and forward prices and things like that. But now you've gone into a deal for 1 year with USA. Now that's a long time in this world of LNG, LPG, and all, which means that you're in for the long haul with the USA. It's a turnaround from what Trump was speaking: 50% tariff, 100% tariff, all that nonsense. But you can't see just because there's an LNG deal which has been struck for 1 year, it doesn't mean that that's the only deal. Look, the way I look at it, there are 4-5 factors, and I'm sure others will weigh in on this. But let me outline the factors. The first factor is the India-US defense partnership is pretty deep, right? We've been with them for the past 20 years, in fact 25 years, and we've got our complete strategic logistics fleet or strategic airlift, a lot of our firepower, a lot of our other kinds of logistics and ISR capabilities are based on US equipment. And that equipment is going to stay with us for the next 25, 30 years. Whether we like it or not, whether US likes it or not, India likes it or not, we have a relationship going forward for the next 25 years. So if that is going to be sacrosanct, I mean, that's the fundamental on which you're going to think, you have no choice but to cooperate. So somewhere this tariffs have to start a thing. Otherwise, both lose. And I think that realization came. And that realization came when our defense minister and Pete Hegseth, their war secretary, signed the 10 years defense framework agreement. I mean, the 10-year defense framework agreement always existed. It is just a renewal for the next 10 years. There's also a commitment for logistics. There's also a commitment for ship repairs. A lot of their ships don't have to now go back all the way to wherever they were going for repairs and refit. That infrastructure is available in India. Plus, you have this 4 basic agreement: Beka, Lemova, Dismova, and all those. They're not running away anywhere. So I think there is some sense dawning on this whole relationship both ways. And now, last I heard Mr. Trump saying, "Oh well, we have to reduce the tariffs on India. It can't last forever." And then earlier he used to talk of, we're going to cut off, India has to cut off oil from Russia, importing the oil from Russia. These days he's also saying they'll reduce. It's going to be considerably reduced. Now, considerably reduced is very elastic. It's elastic in volume and elastic in time. So there is a realization. But more than all this is Trump has hit a hard wall with China. There's no headway with China. Okay. Apart from the no headway with China, China and Japan are in a big spat. There is a renewed interest of China going into Taiwan, right? And there are the spat with Philippines is going up. Then Japan, Taiwan, and Philippines are into a lot of deals, which has got China up in a smoke, right? Now, all these put together, the Indo-Pacific has come up. If the Indo-Pacific has come up and the focus has come up, which General Raj Shukla did mention in the last podcast of ours, right? And that the fact that America seems to be waking up again. Okay, like Rip Van Winkle, it went to sleep, or Rip Van Trump. Okay, and coming back, then they're suddenly realizing you can't get into the Indo-Pacific without India. You can't get into the Indo-Pacific with Pakistan. Definitely not. Right. So the hard facts of geopolitics and the way things are played out are coming back up. And I don't. I mean, even last time, and it's been my consistent position that this problem with USA is going to be it's timed, and that time is over. Yes. What has changed with the USA is there is no strategic relationship. It's a relationship. Whether it will go back to being strategic is it's a moot point. So I think this relationship has got its own depth. Like I said in the beginning, it's not going to bottom out. Right? We don't have a choice with each other. Actually, that's the fundamental. With China, you have a choice. With USA, you don't have a choice. There's a limit to the choices you can make. Right? So this is what I thought I'll put across in the beginning. Back to you, Shreya.
Thank you so much, sir. General Raj Shukla, this presents us with a lot of opportunities, in my opinion, sir, because there is a dawning in the United States, especially looking at how their weaponry is made. 90%, 80 to 90%, depending on which military contractor you talk to, sources their components from China. So they may be able to, if there's a full blown war against China, 15, 20 days is all US will be able to last. After that, they don't have any more. The pipeline is going to get stuck. That's one of the challenges that they have. On the other hand, India has proved itself more than sufficiently that it is a responsible power, whether it is politically or militarily. India is a very responsible power. So I foresee closer ties between India and United States, especially from a defense point of view. Uh, your thoughts, sir? You've been studying this area, especially the Indo-Pacific, for a long time. I'd like you to weigh in. How deep do you see this is going to go?
So let's do some plain speaking today on the Indo-US relationship. I, for quite some time, have been absolutely gung-ho on the Indo-US relationship, purely from the Indian point of view, because I don't see any alternative. So, post February 2025, when the weather began to go bad, I somehow did not see any change in the long-term climate. I think that is what General Shankar also was alluding to. What do I mean by that? It is when as India, plots its rise, we have no choice but to lean on the Americans if we have to balance China. And the Americans have no choice but to lean on India if they have to balance China. But this coming together of the Indo-US relationship has many metrics. There is the size of our market, what we buy from them, trade, tariffs, and a whole lot of other issues. But the central point, I mean, what should we reach the grand bargain around or about? My own view is that there has to be give and take. India is also, not entirely innocent. We have been very protectionist. If you ask me frankly, our tariffs have been high. So in this give and take, I will leave it to the specialists. We may have to give something on agriculture, do some of this energy stuff. But the grand bargain is what we get from the Americans in terms of technology. Because those really cutting edge technologies, we have no other source but the Americans. And let me tell you, in both the countries, there is a huge anti-US lobby amongst Indians, which will lie low for a while and surface when things go wrong. And that's exactly what happened when things went wrong with President Trump. And there is this lobby in America, I presume represented by the likes of Lutnick and Besnet, those who think that India is not fair. India puts a lot of conditions. India does a lot of moralizing, strategic autonomy, this, that, and the other. Both have a point. Perhaps India does too much of this moralizing strategic autonomy, this, that, and the other. And the Americans are too transactional. You speak to some of the senior service chiefs and army officers, they'll tell you that despite our buying so many of these platforms from the Americans, when it comes to, in-country programming, use of their weapon systems, they attach a whole lot of conditions, which makes it very difficult for us to, use this kind of equipment. Let me just give you an example. I heard it anecdotally, though say we take F-35s from the Americans. Say, I don't think we have been talking about it at this point. Why do we need F-35s? In the current BVR stalemate, you cannot operate in the contested envelope without stealth. I think everybody knows that. What are our options for stealth? Su-57 from the Russians, F-35s from the Americans. The Su-57s, for some strange reason, have not performed in Ukraine. So our only option is the F-35. But if our relationship was on a sound track, I think we would have got the F-35s by now. But because of this moralizing, and the fact that the F-35 needs weekly software updates, and the Americans will say, if you have the S-400, we can't give you these F-35s. It is these things that come in the way of an expanding Indo-US relationship. So the grand bargain, in my view, is that we make some concessions on agriculture, this, that, trade, tariff, but we must get high-end technologies from America, not in the technology transfer mode, but in the joint development, because we have no other option. Let me also say this, and I would love General Shankar and General Hari Mohan to respond. While the Russians have been good friends, they've given us a whole lot of stuff. The Russians have resourced the rise of the PLA in the first phase and continue to do so, giving the Chinese high-end technologies, fixed generation aircraft, quieter submarines, this, that, and the other, which they don't give to us. So even when it comes to choosing between this best friend, Russia, and the Americans, in terms of technology, I think the only hope is the Americans. And the final point I'd like to make is this, that, India does not want America's treasure. We will shed our own blood. The only thing we need from you is technology. And the Americans must somehow realize that a technologically enabled India, a technologically enabled Indian military is in the American self-interest. So every time this question, why should we give you, you will have to give it to us because you have the edge. In technology, it is asymmetry. But 25 years of the relationship have proved that it suits both the countries well when they align. And I entirely agree with General Shankar that if we can display the same statesmanship, both India and US, if they stay together, we will balance China far better off. In any case, I don't see any other option.
Thank you so much, sir. General Hari Mohan Iyer, I would like you to weigh in. So one harsh truth that is emerging is that India still, even it says that it's the number 2 cell phone manufacturer for the world, there's a lot of import content that is coming in from China. Just like, US finds itself in the same situation as far as its military components is concerned. Somewhere we have to start doing these things from ground up inside India itself. That could perhaps make it even easier for some of these things to be manufactured under license or whatever in India. Your thoughts, sir?
Good evening, and thanks for having me on the show. I totally agree with you, but we can't go to step number 5 right directly. Possibly we are.
That's why I said 1, 2, 3.
So you have to climb the ladder, progressively. So I'm sure as the way technology keeps flowing into India, all these things will happen. The first thing is imbibing technology and absorbing technology. These are two very important aspects. You have to firstly understand how technology works, and then you'll have to play along with the technology. We are years behind as far as technology is concerned, like General Shankar said. And like General Shukla said, I agree, we have no other option. Because the Russians never give you technology, by the way, they give you equipment. Whereas we have a scope of getting some technology, and I'm not just looking at weapons. We have to look at a wider arc of things. I have a different take on what has happened in the last 2 days. Please understand, 14 November, I call it a red letter day. Because before 14 November, there was a question mark on whether this government will survive 5 years. Bihar was very important. And what has happened on 14 November is we have ensured that this government is the most stable government now. It's as good or as bad as what it was in the second term in terms of stability. Put the same shoe on the American side. The way the Democrats are rising and the way the numbers are falling on the other side, there's a problem. So if you go back to, let's say, the month of May, when the Indo-US relations started going downwards, US was a very strong state in the month of May. Trump was absolutely having everything on his side. I don't think the same was true with Modi. But come 14th of November, things have changed. Now possibly you are dealing with a government which is stable and which is going to survive. So there is no other alternative but to deal with it. So that is one aspect which many people have not looked into. And that is why this kind of deals and tariffs going down. Second, the FTA, we had a debate also, that day they said it's around the corner, by end of October it will be signed. Like General Shukla says, we are very strong in our stand of agriculture and dairy products. And America doesn't want to sign an FTA, which is, compromising their stand as far as these two areas are concerned. So in the GAB, they have put tariffs. There have a lot of, I will say, economical blackmail. In that scenario, when you look at what has happened now, it is backtracking from both ends. The tariffs, if we say tariffs are not hurting, we are also lying. Tariffs are hurting. So there is some back channel negotiations. We have said we buy LNG. How the Americans take it? Will it have constitutional taken on the reduction in penalty tariffs, which are still in vogue as I stand today? Those 25% for buying Russian oil still stays. So till a time a statement comes that 25% is no longer applicable, that problem still stays. So we have made a little change, and I look at it as possibly a little more positive swing from India. And it will have, as I look at it, the FTA will get broken up into 3 or 4 small, parts. So you will not have a full-fledged FTA coming up very soon. And the same line, I don't see tariffs also coming down accordingly everywhere. So there will be certain amount of relaxations of tariffs. And it will also end up in looking as to how the US views India as a strategic partner. Last 2 months have also shown the US that their capability of putting Pakistan against us and trying to force us into a degree of weakness has not worked. So they were trying to play that game that if you don't play ball, we'll put Pakistan in front. It doesn't work anymore, and that has possibly become absolutely clear. And like General Shankar says, when the Secretary of Defense comes and signs a 10-year renewal pact, a defense pact, these are signals that you may have shown interest in Pakistan, but as far as defense and strategy is concerned, you are still aligned with India. There was a question asked to Trump in one of the discussions as to how does he look at Quad. He didn't answer it. But the fact is, Quad is the only solution in the Indo-Pacific. And without India, there is no Quad. I think we discussed it last time, it will become a straight line. So until and unless you bring Indian Ocean into the game, it doesn't stand as an Indo-Pacific region. And I guess the planners on both sides have realized that this standoff needs to be, pulled down. And this particular development which has happened in the last 2 days is possibly one of those baby steps towards bringing this relation back to normal. It is going to take its own time. Like General Shankar said, what was there before February, whether we become the strategic partner or we become economic partner, these are games, these are things that we'll see as things flow out. As of now, I believe that US has agreed to continuously develop the G414 as part of the deal, but that deal is yet to be physically signed. Will it happen or not is a question. How far we are able to balance our program with Safran to push the Americans into pushing this deal, these will be games which will be seen over the period of time. Everybody is going to hedge, and today's India is in a very strong position to hedge its requirements. So in that context, I look at the current development as a start, And the next 6 to 8 months, you'll find slowly things becoming either normal or possibly it might go other way also. So the next 6 months, as I see, is going to be a very interesting times, and this may be just one of the start points in that. And LNG, like I said, as I look at it, it's a win-win deal. We continue to buy Russian oil as much as we want to, and we get LNG for 1 year at a price which is fixed. So we get, as far as energy is concerned, a win-win situation. And if the penalty tariffs are taken off, then it will become an actual overall win as far as this deal is concerned. I'll be looking forward to more details as far as how the other aspects of the trade deal are worked out and how the Indo-US strategic defense deals go ahead from here. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now let's pivot on to the second topic. This is something that has been. Sir, go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I just want to put a point in because I think this is important. This, you see, what General Shukla said is pretty important in the sense that look, we have very little choice except USA to tackle China, right? But the flip is also true, which did come out. But I want to put it across how USA feels. Farid Zakaria, about 3 or 4 times he's mentioned. Look, if you want to replace China for anything, the only country which can do so is India in terms of scale. No other country can do it, right? And that is something which is coming home to everyone. That's a very important thing. So, as much as we require, uh, USA for technology and we have a partnership going and believe we are stronger and all that. The flip is also true. USA also has that much dependence. I've always maintained that there's an interdependence between USA and India which has to be taken forward. And we shouldn't do it myopically on the basis of a few agricultural products. In any case, even Mr. Piyush Goyal has said, look, we should compete in open market. We can't have a protected market within. If you have a protected market within, that's no way to grow. That's one. The second thing, which is something which we have to realize, and this is something we need to play, is this business pact between Japan and China. Remember, China, that the consul in Japan, the Chinese consul in Japan, has said it's time to cut the filthy head of the Prime Minister of Japan off. That is a pretty strong wolf warrior statement. And that has, up the ante with Japan. And Japan has said, we will help Taiwan, we will help Philippines. After that, China has done sailing in the Osumi Strait. The Osumi Strait is just next to the Osumi Islands, which is part of the Osaka group, and down. And we also must understand that Yonaguni, which the closest island to Taiwan, is just 100 kilometers away. That's Japanese. So there is a complication which is coming up there. And USA can't afford to have India out of this equation. So far, USA has not reacted to it. But there might be a time soon where things might flip. Because largely the Middle East has gone quiet. It's okay, Gaza mein hota rahega jo bhi hai. He'll twist, and Pakistan's tail to put the contingent down there. That's a later day story. But what's happening in Indo-Pacific, I find that many of us in India and this part, our own thinking, we're not looking at what's happening there. I just thought I'll put this across, which is very important. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Now let's take a quick look at what's happening in. Oh, please go ahead. Sorry, I missed you completely. Go ahead, sir.
This Indo-US relationship is so important that now that we've set off the debate, I just want to make a couple of more points. One is, you see, India needs to get a little practical in the Indo-US relationship. While Indians in their one-to-one relationships are intensely practical, when it comes to foreign policy, we do a lot of grandstanding. I don't know for what reason. And therefore, there has to be with less of grandstanding. And here I want to make a couple of points. Look at what South Korea has done. Some $150 million investment in the shipbuilding industry in USA and trading off for 3 nuclear-powered submarines. Why can't we do that? Why can't Mr. Ambani be asked to invest $500 million in something which will do him good business also and trade off with something in defense? People have been suggesting that. What is $500 million from Mr. Ambani? It's nothing. So something like that which pleases Trump. Let me also raise this unpopular point. What is the harm in recommending him for a Nobel Prize if it pleases him so much? For these 7, 8 things, we can just say he did some mediation in the Indo-Pak conflict. When we know that these things, matter to him so much, and in any case, if you're not going to do it, Asim Munir is going to nominate him for a Nobel Prize. So might as well do it. So these are some of the issues I just wanted to raise. And the third is, this is an important point. This some days back, the Politico had an article on the intense fire that Bridge Colby was under. Bridge Colby is wanting to pivot into the Indo-Pacific. He should have great Indian backing, but we are just silent on it because the American pivot to the Indo-Pacific in the context of what Jen Shankar said, what's happening in Japan and other, we just don't even follow that. I don't think the Indian strategy community even knows that what is happening between Japan and China. So we can't link these things. We take it straight to whatever that agriculture and all that dairy products. Well, there is a world beyond dairy products here. So this is somehow the connect between trade and the strategic stuff, must be there. And two more quick points. See, the power of sabotage is so much that despite Mr. Hexes and Mr. Rajnath signing that 10-year framework, I can't think of anything very substantial which has come out of the Indo-US relationship. Endless moralizing, talking, Indus, trust, acronyms, nothing is coming out. So the people who argue for the Indo-US relationship want it to convert into products and deals. There is nothing to show. So we must really take stock of what's happened, in terms of all the promises that were made, because only once those begin to show in day-to-day life, business, commerce, those in the defense space, will we realize that the Indo-US relationship is so important to us. And the last point that I wish to make is the Americans must do their mathematics. It is simply bad mathematics to alienate 1.143 crore Indians for, I don't know what that is, 250 million odd Pakistanis. It is just bad mathematics. And the last point is, see, we've been talking so much about Quad. As long as we keep this lie on that Quad is about vaccines, it will never take off. Quad is about deterring China. Deterrence doesn't mean that you have to do it through deploying force. There are many ways of deterring China short of force. But to say that Quad is about vaccines is idiotic. That's why it doesn't generate traction. So these are some of the points in all humility I wanted to make with regard to the Indo-US relationship.
Thank you so much, sir. Let's get to the second topic, Bangladesh. And this has been brewing for a while. In fact, riots have been happening for a while. And the way this is going, how can an unelected government sentence its former prime minister to death? It's I mean, in terms of the so many optics, this is just bullshit. Sorry to use French, but somehow they are able to ramrod this, and I don't know what India is going to do. There was a statement, I saw India's statement, very, 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 like, we have taken cognizance of what has happened in Bangladesh. I don't know, maybe that's diplomatically saying something and doing something else. How do you see this whole thing evolving, General Ravi Shankar? This looks like trouble is coming to us rather than even without doing anything, India is getting into more and more trouble.
Look, what's happening in Bangladesh, I don't think we should get troubled by it. That's the way I look at it. What is happening in Bangladesh, if you see, there are too many fissures in Bangladesh. There's this Yunus, he came, a lot of things happened. A lot of things have unhappened also. The army has not listened to whatever Yunus and his Razakars, I'll put it that way, have said. Right? There is a thing, they have not made headway about it. What Yunus wanted to do with Chinese have not responded. Yeah, Pakistan will jump into anyone's bed. It's like a whore. So I have no problem with Pakistan. Let them do what they want. But within, if you see the Bangladesh politics, the two biggest parties in Bangladesh, Bangladesh National Party and Awami League, are back in action. And they are not convinced about whatever Yunus is doing. Right? And in the past 15-20 days, there's trouble on the streets in Bangladesh. There is an internal three-way problem in Bangladesh. In fact, I will say four-way problem. Three major parties and the army. The army is playing its own hand. Right? The Jamaat-e-Islami and all the student parties and all one group, a BNP one group, the Awami League has come back. I mean, we must remember, Awami League in Bangladesh is the biggest group. After all, it held power for so long. It's been in the thick of politics ever since their independence. Just because a few chaps came on the street and drove Sheikh Hasina away, Awami League has not died. It's coming back. It's reviving. So all that is there. Plus, there's pressure on Yunus for holding elections. We don't know how the elections will go. And if you see, the election commission in Bangladesh has said, we want this to be fair elections. So that fellow is already taking a line which is different. So there's going to be chaos in Bangladesh, and that chaos is going to be internal. I don't see, we can keep talking that Bangladesh is a threat to us. Bangladesh is no threat to us. I'll be very honest with it, very candid. We've taken some action. Kishanganj military station, Kishanganj is far away. Okay, and all that. But the fundamental fact is there is going to be unrest in Bangladesh. This unrest is not going to stop. It means nothing to, say Sheikh Hasina is given the death sentence or not. It will never be executed. It will only inflame people within. Now they want to level off, Mujibur Rahman's house. All that's what's there in the pictures and all, bulldozers and all that. And the fact is, there are equal number of Bangladeshis who feel that that's the first liberation. This is no liberation. Their economy has gone down the drain. They've been taken for international arbitration by Adani for power. And if that goes other side, they don't have money to pay. There'll be no power in this thing. After all, this Adani Goda plant is almost about 10 to 12% of Bangladesh power. Things will get worse. Their economy is not growing. China has not stepped in. This fellow Yunus went and spoke in China. No, rest of India is landlocked. Bangladesh is the only port and all that. China has not stepped in. China doesn't have the capability to step in. It might have technology, inside. But China has not stepped out anywhere. Neither has it stepped into Bangladesh, and it ran away from Middle East strategically. It's not taken a stand. It's economic. And this is economic. Even that it is not done. Why? Because they see the risk within Bangladesh. So I think we need to start looking at Bangladesh afresh. At this point of time, there's a pot boiling inside. It will boil. If it bursts, so be it. It's like a bad abscess. Treat it. Right? I don't think they pose a threat. There's too much of noise being happening. Oh, the threat will come from the east and all. Right? We have enough aces up our sleeve to be played when we want to play. Right? You can't. I'm a bit amazed that you are such a big country, you're such a big economy. This is one half of Bengal. In any state around you, Assam, this is 3/4 of Assam, nothing more. You can't say this is going to be a threat to us. Okay. And I'm also amazed at times about the Siliguri corridor. Okay, Siliguri corridor and the chicken neck you can play when it happens. What is that? It's one little jut which is coming out like a thumb. You knock it off anytime and keep going. Tutulia. If you work there, you can always. I'm sure Indian Army and Government of India has plans to go through the Tutulia corridor whenever it wants. I don't, this is fine to talk about it and all that, but beyond that, no. I mean, these might be completely different views from what others are speaking, but this is where I have my views about it. Back to you, sir.
General Raj Shukla, thank you so much, General Ravi Shankar. General Raj Shukla, your thought, because we have not discussed Bangladesh with you yet, so this would be sort of a debut for you to weigh in on what you see happening in Bangladesh, sir.
Yeah, so on this debut, I'm afraid I must disagree greatly with General Shankar. So
Yeah, that's
it's
okay.
ominous debut on that score. But see, let me just outline the reasons why I say so, and then of course, perhaps Hari can play the arbiter. Look what the Americans see. We have to decide if Vikasit Bharat has a power element, then where is India as a power? We are a middle power. We will get better and better. And what does powerhood mean? The Americans have declared that Venezuelan cartel as a terrorist organization and have said Maduro, as the head of that cartel, is a terrorist. So that paves the legalities for them to take care of Maduro and the terrorist cartel. In a similar vein, is Jamaat a terrorist organization? And is Yunus the head of a terrorist organization? Now, today we may not have the power to do this kind of stuff. But if this is a future goal, we must start working towards it. Now, how do we work towards it? Can we allow the penetration of our immediate neighborhood by China in the manner that it has done? I mean, I'm not saying it is a threat in that sense. It is this gradual penetration of our neighborhood which we are allowing. Why should 65 to 70% of the Bangladesh military inventory be Chinese? Why should Yunus talk of the landlockedness of northeast states? Why should he be offering Lal Monerhat to the Chinese? Because we allow him to do that. So we have to decide that if we are going to be a power of that kind, which is what? That we will not allow inimical forces in our neighborhood. This American pullback to the Western Hemisphere is also because they realized that while they were bothering about the whole world and Indo-Pacific, Central and South America was being penetrated by the Chinese. So they are saying, let's pull back and make sure the Chinese don't come here. So that is so how do you do it now? This business of DIA and theater commands, years back, one person who had put it lucidly was Mr. Subramanian, the father of Mr. Jaishankar. He had told the Indian military that please wake up from your obsession with the LAC, and start looking beyond. Meet the threats beyond before they come to your borders. In that sense, he created the DIA. The DIA was supposed to be the int guy doing all this stuff around us and not leaving it solely to raw. But what did we do with the DIA? For a strange set of reasons, we have told him you just confine yourself to Kashmir and a little bit of diplomacy here and there. This is not. DIA was supposed to shape it. And the theater commanders were supposed to be created so that they helped the DIA in shaping this. So the DIA, the theater commanders, and the Indian military were supposed to actively intervene in the chaos in Bangladesh and Myanmar. The manner in which they should intervene cannot be discussed on television. But we have to decide that are we going to build our power in this sense. I am a big advocate of doing this because as we become third largest economy and get closer to that, people in our neighborhood should not dare to do all this kind of stuff. And one last point I want to make about Pakistan. What has happened in this Al Falah University tells you that they are creating a Jaish module right in your capital. So if you don't have this kind of stuff, this is what they'll end up doing. We should have the Jaish on our targets. We should build the capacities to take out Masood Azhar and all those other. Jaish is as big a threat as Hamas. So I'm saying in this sense, we must build military capacities to intervene if required beyond our neighborhood and of course under political control. So there are only options. But those options can only be exercised if you have the capacities. In that sense, I'm saying our eastern horizons also are a cause for concern. The chaos in Myanmar and Bangladesh, not that they will come and do something to us, but they should not dare to do anything inimical from their own territories. Because that is what India is as a power. So that's the way, I look at it. And one last point I'm making, and I request both General Shankar and General Iyer to consider this. Our eastern borders are pretty vulnerable. They need to be fenced. They need to be patrolled. And might be a very unpopular thing to say, but I think we need some 10 to 15 RR battalions at this point to do something on our northeast borders, or we'll have the situation what we have along the line of control to our west. It is actually a threat. You speak to Bangladesh scholars, Myanmar scholars, they will tell you what's happening, what the Chinese are doing in Myanmar, what they are doing in Bangladesh. It is very active interference, which is a little distinct from what the diplomacy does. So these are some thoughts on the chaos to our east.
General Harimohan Nair, would you like to respond to General Raj Shukla? And if you, I'll give you a chance, General Ravi Shankar, after General Iyer says it. Thank you.
Firstly, when a tribunal was set up, the end result was well known.
Yes.
So this
Preordained.
to say it's a shocker, it never shocked me. I was watching this movie Nuremberg last week, and right from the start of the movie, we knew what the end of the movie is going to be. So whenever such tribunals come up in scenarios like this, the end results are known. So when a tribunal was set up, that she is going to be permanently taken out of the game is very clear. So what is going to happen now is they're going to bargain with her that you don't come back and you continue to go in exile or whatever. That kind of a bargain will happen. Whether she stays in India or elsewhere, these are questions which possibly too early to speculate. But that having said, Sheikh Hasina's absence in Bangladesh is a huge loss for us. So that in that context, I don't agree with General Shankar. When Sheikh Hasina was in power in Bangladesh, at least that portion of our borders, to a large extent, we were very comfortable with. The last 9-10 months, we are not so sure about it. I don't know whether we need an Assam rifle increase or an RR kind of a scenario, but that border is, I will say, volatile, if I'm not live. And it can become live anytime. And it will become an irritant to us. It may not be a kind of a major military threat, but it will be an irritant which is best avoided. So in that context, I will like to keep Bangladesh in my focus. And if you say the way Modi started his journey, he wanted to strengthen SARC. In his first
Oath
when he
taking.
was about to take oath, his first thing was he said, I want to revive SARC. 10 years down the line, see where he is today. You start from Maldives, other than possibly Afghanistan, where we have made some headway. By and large, SARC is now not with us. Our neighbors are not with us. And you can't live in, and you can't prosper, and if you're looking at Viksit Bharat, you can't have irritants all around your borders. And you can't suddenly say, I will take this also, I will do that also, I'll create 5 theater commands and I will, deal with them accordingly. This is only going to be impeding your growth. So to that extent, we need to look at political solutions to this. What we should do, I guess we should keep quiet. And I totally agree with the way you may call it a timid response. I call it a very diplomatic response. So you convicted her, so what? Does it have international recognition? If you go through that what's it called, ICPPR, whatever, ICCR, it does not found to logic anywhere. You can't give death sentence just like that in absentia. So to that count, I guess the kind of response which India has given is right on the right lines. We will have to look at how to put her back into a saddle in Bangladesh. And that should be something which should be a political agenda, to try and bring Bangladesh back to our own side by putting a favorable dispensation there. General Shankar talked about BNP and Awami League. If Awami League goes, then Bangladesh is no longer a friendly state onto our east. BNP has never been friendly with us. So whether it's BNP or Yunus, the results are going to be the same. We have been very strong in the way we have responded to Yunus's government, the way we have closed the ports, the way we have closed the trade to Nepal. These are very clear signals to say that you can't run the government the way you are doing. And I guess the country as such, the government as such, is looking at the way the elections go. Because there is a fair belief, and I agree with General Shankar on that count, that Awami League cannot be written off. It is still there. But will it be, erased the way PTI has been erased in Pakistan? That is the question. Are American interests there to ensure that we don't have an Awami League government because she didn't play ball with them? Another question. Is there a requirement of America to have a base close to Myanmar? And for that, they may compromise on political giveaway to a guy like Yunus. These are questions. So, in that effect, I look at the current developments to be something of concern. I believe we have to be more cautious the way we deal with the Bangladesh border, because it may be a very small corridor, but right across, right from Bengal, right down to Tripura, we share a long border with them. And we are struggling with influx of Bangladeshis in all these regions. So to that count, that is a volatile border, and we need to fence it, like General Shukla says. We need to hold it seriously. Some difficult, and this possibly is a window, because we have a government which is not friendly with us. I won't call it enemical, but at least not friendly with us. So to that context, if we take this opportunity and close those things which possibly we couldn't do with Sheikh Hasina being in power in Bangladesh, we should be able to close all that in this window. And last point I would like to say, in every Bangladesh war game, the enemy is always in the north and the east. Sorry, north and the west. So they call us Foxland there also. So they don't treat us as friends. They do treat us as adversaries to some levels. In that context, it is nothing wrong to say that the concern should be there. As far as the current development is concerned, I don't agree with you to say that we gave a timid response. I don't think we need to react to this development in Bangladesh in the current scene. There are many other agencies in the world which will pull Yunus down for having done what he has done. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. A lot of stuff that has been coming down to the pipeline. I'm sorry, General Shankar, I forgot to give you the floor. Over to you, sir. Sorry.
Yeah, look, I think both General Hari and Raj Shukla have probably, taken me for what, misunderstood a part of what I wanted to say. I'm not worried. I'm making a point. I'm not worried about Bangladesh. That doesn't mean I don't do anything about Bangladesh. They're two different things. You have to understand that, look, it's very nice to say I want a dispensation in Bangladesh which suits me. Look at the history of Bangladesh. You'll never been able to do that barring this 10 years with Sheikh Hasina. There are 178 million people. I mean, you can't just manipulate them. They have different ideas. And they have largely different ideas from what we have. And in fact, they're good at exporting a problem into Bangladesh and Bengal and Assam. We are worse off for it. That's one. Number two, everyone says Sheikh Hasina was very good. She was good for many things. But what Raj Shukla was saying, she was the one who brought in China. If 70% of Bangladesh army equipment is from China, it is thanks to Sheikh Hasina. It is not thanks to anyone else. Right? Yeah. You might like to correct me if I'm wrong.
After you finish, I just want to.
Yeah, it is. All these submarine deal, everything happened when she was in power. Okay? And that base which was there, it was supposed to be Sheikh Mujib base. It was not supposed to be any other base. That base which is being, with which, they gave Chinese 2 submarines were given to Bangladesh, and the base had pens for 4. And it was supposed to be Sheikh Mujib base or Bangabandhu base or something like that. So, this relation, and Sheikh Hasina always hedged China with India. Like, we shouldn't have doubts about it. She was good, but there was a limit to which she was good. Well, she's out. She's not going to go back. We should be clear about how things are. And now with this death sentence, her road back is out. So what are you going to deal with? You're going to deal with a fractured Bangladesh. A fractured Bangladesh which is quite rudderless. It might not even unite against India. It is right, but there will be a lot of steam against India because generally this whole lot of people have a problem with India. It's historic. It's not now. It goes back to the time of United Bengal times. I'm now going back to the time of our pre-independence, probably the time when Congress was formed, going back into 1710, 1717 period. So this lot was never for India. So that's going to be a problem for you always. That fence it's fenced. You can't fence it more. You have to man that fence and ensure no illegal immigration takes place. You bottle it out. And we've not been able to do it completely. So the problems are within. You have to take a policy stand on Bangladesh as to how you want to handle it. I go completely with Raj Shukla and in fact even Hari to say you have to have a hard stand against Bangladesh. It's only not three sides. You block them off in the sea also in some manner. Right? And ensure Yunus and Bangladesh have no access anywhere. If that be so, if Maduro being dealt the way he is being dealt by USA is a huge problem because they have only access from the sea, nothing else, no land access. Here you have access all four sides. You just buckle him off, but it takes a hard action, right? And part of the bottling off, you already fenced off. So that's the thing. You come to Myanmar. Myanmar is the kettle is completely different. The tea is different. The fire is different there. Right? You can't fence that border. And even if you fence that border, you can't maintain it. And I don't think India has the capability to do it for the next 20 years. You go on ground, that's the fact. In fact, even this fence against Bangladesh fails in many places in Tripura. Because the fence is a puny little fence with tall oak trees and sesame trees grow on either side. And you can go put a rope and swing across that. You have to see the fence in some of these places to understand that fence has got no relevance. You have to have different methodologies to sort this out. Right? Myanmar is a major issue on a different wicket altogether. What you need to do is ensure that Myanmar and Bangladesh, the things don't join together. The US guys tried that corridor, that humanitarian corridor and all that, and have failed and have gone back. Part of the strategic deal which we are now doing with the US, you have to tell them, leave Bangladesh to us, we'll sort it out. And this is what actually Trump said when he met Mr. Modi the first time in February. He said, someone asked him about Bangladesh. He said, I'll leave it to the Prime Minister to sort it out. You have to go back to that. We have to have a policy clarity on this issue. We can't have a emotional response to what we need to do. We have to be strong with them. They know this thing. Let's be very clear. You have given them everything. You gave them cheap electricity. You gave them cheap food grains. You gave them access to exports. Everything you gave. And they've turned the other way around. So leave it at that. The soft approach won't work. We need to have the hard approach. That is the thing which I'm more worried about. The fact, will we take that hard approach? I'm not worried about Bangladesh creating problems for us. I'm more worried about whether we'll can we create problems for Bangladesh and discipline it. I'm using the word very deliberately so that it falls in line. Right? We will have a hostile neighbor for some time to come, whether we like it or not. Unlike Myanmar. Myanmar is not a hostile neighbor to you. Myanmar is sitting in a set of circumstances which you can't handle. If I go into Myanmar, it will take the whole day today. Right? I think We have to have a pragmatic way out of this whole story. We don't know which way the cookie will crumble in February, if at all it crumbles. We don't know whether the elections will be held or not. Whichever dispensation which comes out of this whole story, yes, of course, we need to influence the whole thing. That's a different story. You need to have a hybrid approach here. You need to have a, I wouldn't say a multi-domain approach, but you need to have a very heavy hybrid approach here. And that's where I think we have to have our own internal policy. I'm not misreading Bangladesh. I'm not worried about Bangladesh that they'll do they'll create a problem for us. They will create a problem for us, but you need to create problems back for them. Thank you. Back to you,
Thank you so much, sir. General Raj Shukla, would you like to come in? And I'll let you in, General Harimohan, right after that. General Raj Shukla.
Yes, I really want to comment because Jen Shankar has brought up some very interesting points. See, why did Hasina go to China? Why is the Bangladeshi inventory Chinese? Because Indians are grandstanding. We don't give militaries lethal aid. What aid do the militaries want? Non-lethal aid. When this embassy was hit, the Afghan embassy for the second time, I was an MO directorate and General Bikram sent me there. I forget the Afghan chief's name. He was a Sanders trained guy. He told me, I have seen many people like you. If you have come to give me a moral lecture on non-lethal aid, let's wind up this discussion. We'll have dinner in the evening and you go back tomorrow. And he gave me, we've been telling the Sri Lankans when they wanted aid, we said non-lethal aid. Afghanistan, when they want, the Afghan chief told me, we are a proud military. I have tanks, I have guns all lined up. All I'm asking for is spares. What did we offer him? Uniforms. So once we created Bangladesh, we should have made sure that China doesn't even get the chance to offer them military equipment. We could have done so much. So that's my point. Of course, Hasina is to blame. And see, what did the Chinese do? This we must see. Chinese they made Hasina balance the two. And when Hasina needed the Chinese the most, when these agitations were taking place, when she goes to Beijing, she's snubbed. She's snubbed and the message comes back to Yunus and his people, now's the time you flare it up. So for these very reasons, we should be far more, shall we say, magnanimous in military terms with those in our neighborhood. What happened to the Nepalese? At the height of that Naxal problem that they had, they asked us for arms. We again gave them this non-lethal aid wali kahani. So we have to get over this. And if we made mistakes in the past, at least let's over them now. This business of can the border be fenced? Sir, it needs to be fenced and patrolled. We are the only country which has these arguments that there are communities on both sides. So their aspirations have to be met. That's entirely legitimate. But in meeting those aspirations, drugs are pumped in, arms are pumped in, instabilities are pumped in. There is no country which is so negligent of holding its borders to account. That legal flows will take place, illegal flows cannot be allowed. The Jaish has links with the Rohingyas. The Jaish has links with Jamaat. At this point, a terror attack could be being plotted from the east. The next terror attack may happen in one of our northeastern states. So that's one more point. I would very strongly recommend, if we have some time, this is such an important issue, Bangladesh and our east. We must have a full discussion on this, and two people who I have seen who have great knowledge on this. One is Deep Haldar, who has just come out with a book on Sheikh Hasina, and Rami Desai. Please call them because I don't know those details. They churn them out like this, and they will tell you what is going wrong, even in Myanmar. In all the kiosks and the ethnic armed organizations, the Chinese are already in. And what are we still doing? Wait and watch. These are very standard terms in the Indian lexicon. If you are in the system, you know it. Wait and watch. मतलब wait and watch कि जब तक वो खतरा हमारे सर पे ना आ जाए, हम कुछ नहीं करेंगे. That battle of Panipat syndrome or whatever it is called. Now, why I keep making these points is because we can do so much so better. We have the talent, we have everything if we just overcome these issues. One last point I want to make, unconnected, but just a thought came to my mind. Look at this from both the West and the East. If we are not careful, we will have Shariat to our West and Shariat to our East. And Turkey is also coming all the way. Turkey को और कोई जगह नहीं मिली, वहां से उठ के पाकिस्तान और बांग्लादेश में आके हरकत कर रहा है. क्यों? Because we are so tolerant. Look at the Muslim world. Even Saudi Arabia and the UAE now are distancing them from religion, distancing them from themselves from fundamentalism, distancing
After creating all the trouble, after feeding all the stuff, now they are distancing.
But at least changing. But the point I wanted to make, even if I'm wrong, and look at what's happening in the ASEAN. Major Muslim populations, but they are not creating any trouble there. The only place where we encourage the Muslim world to create trouble is across us, Shariat to our west, Shariat to our east. So we really have to be more proactive in this. Anyway, it's a very interesting discussion. Even if I'm wrong, I have no point. Some of these very good points have come. And we must, because I would strongly urge with General Shankar's consent, we discuss this. It's a very important issue with trouble brewing to our east.
Yes, indeed, sir. And Ramit Desai is a regular on P Guru's channel. And definitely, I'll try to bring both of them and get a more deeper perspective about Myanmar and Bangladesh and the Northeast. General Harimo Nair, you had something to say, sir.
I mean, let me put it, I want to just put one little thing. I've had 4 tenures there. This area is, where I've earned my spurs. What happens on the other side of Myanmar, one can read very well even now. What's happening in Bangladesh, I can read. And we can have a discussion anytime on every aspect, including Chinese presence where they are. We'll have it next time. Anyway.
Thank you, sir. General Harimo Nair.
The point which I was trying to make is we can't sit on our hunches to say everything is hunky-dory. What General Shukla says, you have a policy which says we will not interfere anywhere, but we want everybody to be, happy with us. We will not help you, but you should not get helped by somebody else. I agree with him totally how China entered Bangladesh. A country which was created by us became inimical to us within 8 years of its existence. So what I wanted to say was Sheikh Hasina is the second chapter. When Mujib was killed and Zia took over first as a martial law administrator and then as a politician, followed by his wife, there was an extended period of time Bangladesh was alien to us. And we have possibly not learnt our lessons even after that. Last 10-15 years when we had a favorable dispensation there, did we do enough? Did we ensure that that nation is taken care of? That is a problem which we have to look at, and possibly, there are so many other things. Today, whether you like it or not, everybody talks about today influx of refugees all over. I won't call them refugees, I call them illegals who come possibly even today. Some work was happening in my house. I guess the people who worked there were people who came from there because they had names like that. And that is the kind of thing which is happening across India in our hinterland. So are we going to get fixated on that just because they have started coming in, we will now become inimical with them? Did we properly groom them or keep them in our thing? You see, the issue of Maldives comes out loud and clear. Maldives are turning around after a series of bad period because they realize the Chinese are not to be trusted. So are we creating enough confidence into Bangladesh to say that China is not the right place to go to? They are the people who are going to ditch you. Because China has not been anybody's friend anywhere. Let's be very clear. It has got its own interest to look at. The larger point is, as a nation, we need to look at what is our strategic, I won't call it depth, I will call it strategic interest. Sometime when General Shukla was one of my commanders and we did a war game, we were talking about, Horn of Africa, right up to Australia, the entire area we should be interested in. Putting it on paper is okay, but what have we done? I totally agree with him. The DIA should have been looking well and beyond. Is he? No, he's not. Whether the Ministry of External Affairs allows the defense ministry to be part of these kind of developments? No, it doesn't. So we can't say that everything is hunky-dory and we'll put fence and we'll patrol and everything will be fine. Somewhere or the other we'll get drawn into a troubled area. And today I'm a little worried because, again, I said, like, I agree with General Shankar, they will not do. We are not worried about an offensive kind of a threat coming in from Bangladesh. But you can't afford to have irritant which is bordering 9 of your states. That is what is the reality today. Bangladesh borders 9 states. And if you add Bihar to it, which is just across, it's the 10th state. So in that kind of a scenario, today's development needs to be looked at, because I agree, that's the end of Sheikh Hasina. She is history. She will never go back to Bangladesh. So now we have to see who's the next guy that you have to develop, who's going to be favorable to us in a long time. And I hope our ministry is working on it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Before we go to questions, I just have a couple of inputs of my own. I don't know if you have had a chance to read the book Cowboys, Kaoboys by B. Raman. And he said, after India liberated Bangladesh, for some inexplicable reason, the RAW was completely pulled out. And that allowed the ISI to come back in. This is his words. I'm not going to,
Absolutely, yeah.
So this is what he said in his book. And also there's another interesting statement. He says there is some disturbance in a northeastern state, and the government of India is getting inputs from 3 entities: from the police of that state, from RAW, and also from the military intelligence, which happened to be there. And eventually the military intelligence turned out to be right, but the political system worked, assuming something else. They made a mistake. So these things happen. My point in saying all this, sir, is I completely concur with all of you. The DIA has to be active, and I can't say enough about intelligence. Is what it smokes what the thought is forming. When the thought is forming, intelligence starts flagging you. General Raj Shukla, you wanted to say something, and I'll bring you in, General Shankar. General Raj Shukla.
One quick point. Yeah. You see, our whole approach to anything to do with military is minimalist. You just see Zelensky is going to buy 100 Rafale jets from France. What did we buy? 36. Look at our size. Look at his size. This is just one example which comes to mind. Military mein minimalist. This has to change. We need to invest in military intelligence, technology, all this kind of stuff in accordance with our strategic weight. And everything goes around this. So DIA की भी अभी जरूरत नहीं है. Rafales भी थोड़े से कम ले लो. All that. When our threats are just leaping ahead of us. So we have to revisit this whole business. Wait and watch कि chaos होता रहेगा और जब तक all this non-lethal aid. I don't know how they have got into our lexicons. We seriously need to pull them out or pull out of them.
General Harimon Iyer, you wanted to say something, sir?
Totally with General Raj Shukla. You can't have a nation which is, starved for its own resources. He wanted us to help Bangladesh with equipment with what? Our own army is not adequately stocked. So what can we give them from us, from our kitty? And what I learned from the Americans was, if they make 10, and if they need 10, they make 100. So they keep 10 for themselves and make the money out of the 90, they send it out. So we can't be minimalistic in these kind of things. We have to look big. And
there's one very welcome news. I don't know what General Hari and General Shankar think. This Adani's ammunition base or whatever entity which is coming up in the UP corridor, entirely 4.0, robotics, ammunition, missiles, R&D at one place, ability to scale up through robotics. We need to do this kind of stuff. And the question to be asked is, why hasn't OFB done it all these years? This is a video going around. It's been talked of. And I believe they studied ammunition systems for 2 years across the world and have them now come up with this very modern thing. R&D भी वहीं हो रही है, all kinds of ammunitions, missiles, rockets being built, massive investments. So this is the kind of stuff that I think a good thing which is happening. We need to replicate it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can we go to questions now, sir? Is anybody wanting to explain?
Let me answer a few issues which have come up. What General Raj Shukla says about what Adani is doing, is welcome and it's good. I have no doubt about it. That's a change from what we used to do earlier. Earlier, everything used to be based on government funding. Now this is going through Adani, which is market funding. So it's a financial outlook which is changing. Just the way the financial outlook is changing, we need to also change the way we are going to procure. There's a lot of internal problems with our system. Our system is lethargic. I would say lethargic, it is useless to a large extent.
Bureaucrats.
Right?
Bureaucrats.
It is. We are living in a different century altogether, because you don't give enough funds, you don't this thing, and you want to become a superpower. It doesn't happen that way. And even if you have enough funds, you don't have a method to spend. Even if you have a method to spend, you don't have the structure to put things together and absorb. There's a limit to what you can absorb every year. And unfortunately, we need deep military reforms. Forget about theatre commands and all that. You need deep military reforms to overcome your fundamental issues. Then you look at theatre command, which Raj has always been speaking. You need theatre commands to look out. Look out. Eastern Command should look at China, Bangladesh, Myanmar, and Thailand and beyond. And the Western Command should look right up to the Mediterranean. And the Southern Command, or what call it the Maritime Command, whatever, into the Indian Ocean, right till Digogarcha, probably till South Pole. So I think we need to have that bigger vision, which we don't have, unfortunately. I mean, we should have, we don't have. We need to accept what we are. So you are in the present with Bangladesh. You have to deal with Bangladesh in the present. You can't say, look, we didn't do it earlier. We didn't do it. As simple as that. How do you deal with 180 million people? How do you deal with a set of people who kill their own liberator within 2 years of his coming in? And how do you deal with a set of people who kill that fellow also in a period of time? How do you deal with the people the third rung of leadership which came up, that Jatiya Party, H.M. Hussain, and all, they threw him in jail. And then the fourth lot, the Bangladesh National Party, they also put in jail. Look, if you look at Bangladesh politics and the way they have evolved, they are self-destructing at every point of time. They are at one stage. There's the sixth cycle of self-destruction they are in. Only the past 10 years with Sheikh Hasina, they were in something. So we are in for the long haul here. Right? I agree with both the generals to say that we need to do something radical. Again, I qualify. Does it worry me? It worries me in one, but what can they do? So you have to take that hard stance. That hard stance is political. Unless you take that hard political stance against Bangladesh, you're not going to get peace in the Northeast. And containing Bangladesh is critical to peace in the Northeast. That's one. The next part of the story is the way Northeast is laid out is not because, or the problems of the Northeast is not because of problems of the Northeast. It is because of problems of politics of India. And I've said this many times. You have to look at your internal politics for what the state of Northeast, Manipur is. In fact, Manipur is the problem. Right? And if you know Manipur, this is an instigated problem. So it's a layered kind of a thing. Today we've spoken on one part of the story, but I think there are far more layers. Maybe next week we can talk of the Northeast only, and talk of Myanmar and this and that, and I'm okay for it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Shall we go for question? General Raj Shukla.
Okay, so every time I want to keep quiet, General Shankar raises a very interesting. See, what can we do transformation and what can we do incremental? Just recently, The British have come out with their strategic defense review last week. What are the features of that review? First time that review was carried out by a non-soldier, non-civil servant. Because they said, we've given you enough opportunities, you chaps don't reform. Is India coming to that? And what happened in the defense review? Now you see, it is absolutely mind-boggling. These non-soldiers, non-civil servants have come up with this. They say to fix the British military-industrial complex, for the first time they have created a director armament who's from the private sector. No soldier, no servant, civil servant, to get business agility into the military-industrial complex. And two highlights. You know, the current defense secretary is a wonderful person. I'm told he's doing something on DPP, DPM. Would he seriously consider this?
Yeah,
They
he's only
said,
do everything on DPP, DPM for the past 20 years. Yeah, nothing else.
no, exactly. So I'm coming to that only. Please listen to this, sir.
Look,
Please
that's
listen to
a
this.
hard fact.
Please
Look,
listen.
that's a hard fact, Raj. I've
Hard
dealt
fact,
with this
absolutely.
story. I've
I know,
dealt
but
with this story hands-on. Okay.
so you just see what's coming. The committee which was reviewing it said you cannot amend DPP, DPM. Just tear it. So they tore it and wrote one thing afresh. I'm saying in our context, same thing. Not for this, read that, for that. Just tear it. And what is that fresh thing writing? Now, this will again be music to our collective ears. The first thing they said is that the metric of reward and accountability for civil servants will no longer be financial prudence, but be outcomes, lethality. Do we not need to do this? L1, Shell1 को सब हटाना है कि नहीं हटाना है?
यार ये सब
This is what
करना
we do.
है नहीं
Now,
करना
this,
ठीक है but
one
करेगा
minute, just
कौन
one,
accountability में?
okay, one last point. Can I just make one point? यही मेरा point है कि देखो जो अमेरिकन्स कर रहे हैं हम नहीं कर सकते, जो ब्रिटिश कर रहे हैं हम नहीं कर सकते, चाइना तो ऑटोक्रेसी है, तो हम क्या करेंगे? अपना ही कुछ कर लो. So I'm saying there are transformation, there are great measures. Incremental क्या है? Incremental, we have stood by Hasina. We are still standing by Hasina. Could we have stood by her in more material terms when she was in trouble? Why did she have to run to China? And three, what are we doing to back Wakar Zaman, the army chief who is pro-India? Now, these are the issues, incremental, transformational. We have to think through them. These are the exact problems that they are there. So some things we are doing, some things we are not doing. And the last point I want to make for the kind consideration of General Shankar, politicians are at fault. They have been blamed for far too long. ये जो चीजें हैं DPP, DPM, ये तो bureaucracies ने करना है, civil, military, technological, administrative, financial. Why don't we do it? Why do we keep blaming the politician? ये तो हमारे हाथ में.
You can't do it. It's not. Let's be very clear. It's not in your hands.
It is very much in my hands. We don't even go and tell the politician that this is
I don't
required.
agree with you. No, I don't agree with you. And I'm
We can
being very
disagree.
honest about it.
We can
Yeah.
disagree. Fine. I'm just making the point
No,
that
tell
at
me.
one point, politician was to blame. For the last few years, he has become the convenient deflection. When we don't want to do
agree.
anything else, politician ko blame.
No, I don't agree with you on this at all. Please. Let's not,
Gentlemen,
let's not talk.
You'll have a separate discussion, sir.
We'll have separate
we'll have to, yeah.
We can have a separate discussion on this. But the fact is, the only thing we've done in the past 20 years is amend DPPs and DPMs without outcome.
That's what I'm making the same point.
Taking the same point.
We have not done it. And it's not up to the army to do it. Look, you're talking about government.
Not the army.
One last point.
No.
One last point. I will sit with General Shankar. He will chair it, and we will amend the DPP in 30 days.
You don't need an amendment. I don't need to amend the DPP.
I can rewrite it in 30 days.
You don't need to.
With you, sir. With you.
Raj, please. If you have, look, you don't need to amend an DPP at all. You want procurement, you don't need to amend DPP.
That is another point. I agree with you. I agree with you.
You're dealing with someone who's done this. Okay.
So we'll have a separate discussion on this.
Yeah, let's have a separate discussion on this one. We have to go to questions now. We have a lot of questions. I'm sorry, gentlemen. I think let's go to the first question here. Divakar wants to know, now that Sheikh Hasina may be back in the saddle, should we be resigned to the torrents of hostile and belligerent illegals from Bangladesh? General Ravi Shankar.
Look, let's be very clear. Sheikh Hasina won't be back in the saddle. Okay, she'll not go back to Bangladesh. We should be very clear about that.
I think he's
That's the
missed,
first
he's
thing.
missed a knot. I think
Huh?
he's missed. I think he's missed a knot in the question because the rest of the question is talking about that only.
Right? We cannot be resigned to torrents of hostile and belligerent illegals from Bangladesh. We need to take action. Am I bothered about that? No, I'm not bothered. I shouldn't be bothered. I should take action on it. It's time for very serious action on this whole story. And there is going to be tremendous instability coming out of Bangladesh, which you need to handle. Yeah.
Next one, please. General Raj Shukla, this is for you, sir. With due respect, you spoke about creating deterrence against Pakistan after Operation Sindoor, but after Delhi and Srinagar blast, somehow we have not created enough deterrence.
See, deterrence is not created over weekends. Deterrence takes long time. So I'm arguing for combat overmatch with Pakistan, which we invest in some capacities. It will take a while for that to happen. Till then, I mean, what we did in Sindoor, we have to expect a reaction. Whatever he has done in Delhi is a reaction to that. But do we have options? We have further options. Let him try. So I'm saying in that sense, but my idea of deterrence, or say with both the people, Pakistan and China, is this, that we can have combat overmatch with Pakistan so that 6-7 years from now, if we seriously build these capacities, he or the Jaish will not even think of doing what they are doing. There are a series of measures which we need to do, not because we love to do such things, but because we are in such a hostile neighborhood. And with China, we can create similar deterrence through what I call technological innovation, asymmetric deterrence. These things can be done, but they are not created over weekends. They take time.
Next one, please. This is for General Harimohan Iyer. If Government of India can come together and create a product like UPI, what stops private sector IT from creating next FANG and AI in India? Can they stop labor arbitrage and focus on innovation?
I am fully convinced that we have the capability to do anything. Possibly, we have the demographics, we have the brains. The only area where we lack is possibly in the vision. And that's what General Shukla has been saying. Somebody has to lay out a vision on which these things work. We are very good workers, but we are not very good visionaries. And that is somewhere we have to come to grip with the requirement. If we want to be a power to be counted in the world order, you can't be running the system as part of the passenger. You have to drive the system. And to that extent, we need a lot of changes. It will start from both the government, the people, and of course, the political stability. You can't have competitive instability in a nation and look at these kind of things happening. I am very certain that we can, if China can create DeepSeek, we can also create an AI platform. UPI is the best example for it. So very convinced on it that we can do much better than what we are doing today.
Next question, this is for General Shukla. It seems that US government's outreach towards India and vice versa is tempered by long history of close business links between US Indian private interests. Your comments?
See, before this, I just want to make one point. The very questions that they are coming out, the depth and nuance that they have, were not there in the past. So with this growing awareness amongst not only three military guys, but those who are watching the show, this will drive defense reforms. This depth and nuance was not there in the past. As far as the India-US outreach is concerned, I'm saying primarily they are strategic in nature. There is one more initiative which is afoot. It is to get business together. The logic is that even when there is, shall we say, governmental dissonance, can business come together? Here I am of the view that while business should come together, it must try and come together unless it is lubricated by governments. At least in the area of defense, it doesn't sustain. So private interests, why not? It should happen. And ideal is what? Say an Indian startup is mentored by an American prime, given technology by the Americans and deals sealed by the Indian government. This kind of stuff, it should happen. And I can list out 10 domains where it can happen over the next 10 years if our bureaucracies, both civil, military, Indo-US bureaucracies, minimize the dissonance.
Next question to General Ravi Shankar. Why do we play Mr. Good Guy all the time? Or is it we, international agencies, don't have, or internal agencies, don't have the capability to create confusion in Bangladesh?
It's
Intelligence agencies.
Yeah, we don't have a strategic culture. As simple as that. Unless you have a strategic culture of getting hold of your neighborhood and actually acting. We had an act-east policy where we were not acting. Right? Even now, it's not too late. Like I said, look, I can keep looking back and saying we didn't do this, we didn't do that. Well, that's gone. You have, with the present situation, react to it. Even if you have to react to it, overreact to it. That's the way I look at it. I can keep talking of cows boys and cows girls. It doesn't matter. They're gone. They're dead and gone. What you have in front of you is a Bangladesh which is festering in from inside, which is going to be a chaos. You know it. So deal with it. I mean, if you want to be a power of reckoning, you can't be Mr. Good. You have to be Mr. Bad. No one likes the Chinese. No one likes the US. Why should you want to be the good boy and keep doing everything nice? Yep.
Next question to General Harimohan Iyer.
Raj, you have a word on it. Yeah, please.
Will it? Raj Chuklaji, you wanted to say something?
Mr. Bharat Karnad had a good way of describing some of the deficits in our foreign policy in the neighborhood. He said Chinese power inspires respect. Indian power inspires resentment. Why resentment? Because we promise, we don't deliver. Non-lethal aid, pareshan ho jata hai. So we have to change this. This is one. I just thought I'll bring this up because the issue came.
Sir, I would argue the counter also. If you remember, in the first term of Trump, he poked fun at Modi for India building a new parliament building and library and dams in Afghanistan. Today, who does the common Afghani like? It's India. So there is some things we did get good. I mean, we did get it right. It's still a moving target there. General Harimohan Iyer, yes.
I agree with you. Afghanistan, we put it right.
No, so you say India US has a strategic relationship, right?
Yes,
But
yes.
But does it stop CIA from operating inside India? It's a question.
Well, what's stopping India from operating inside
Exactly,
US?
that is what the question is.
When they did, sir, let me finish that. When they did, they got their knickers in a twist.
Absolutely. So, Sriji, the point I want to make is this: in your neighborhood, I don't know how many neighbors they are. If they are 9, it should be 9-0. Why should it be only Afghanistan? Neighborhood,
It should be with you.
Yeah.
In your pitch. Dominate it.
Next question, please. This is to General Harimohan Iyer. Next one, please. Oh, yeah. This is next question. Vijay Chandran wants to know, good evening, and will it not be a win-win situation if India agrees to buy the American corn and convert the entire corn into ethanol? Your thoughts on this idea?
The kind of it's just give me a little bit of amusement with the kind of volatile talk one sees on the social media of ethanol blending into petrol and the effects, whether it will be a very good thing for the masses. That having said, I guess that is what is going to happen. If you at all get into a deal with America to buy corn, it possibly will go into the ethanol basket, possibly generate more ethanol and some other wayside products. And that is the way forward. You'll have to look at balancing out your trade. You can't, like General Shukla had mentioned, you can't have too many restrictions on, say, you don't enter my agricultural sector, but I want technology from you. Nobody is going to give it to you free. All right. Neither do you have the money to buy, nor do you have the trade-off things, to barter things to buy from. So if you want to grow, it has to be a two-way street. And I think this is a good suggestion. I guess somebody must be looking at it. I am sure ministers like Gadkari must be, wondering what will they do with so much of ethanol? How are they going to blend anything more than what they're already doing?
Thank you, sir. And before we go to the next question, I'm reminded of an ad. Indian ads are among the best in the world, bar none. And there is one ad, I think it came 10, 15 years ago. So what happens is one of the ministers goes to Sriharikota and a rocket launch takes place. And in the first question, the minister asks his PA is, "Kitna deti hai?" So we are obsessed with how much we can get out of our vehicles. Ethanol is going to cut it down. It's going to be probably 80 to 85% of what the rated mileage you're going to get. So people need to adjust that. You're paying less, but you're also getting less. Just wanted to put that thought in everybody's mind. Let's go to the next question. This is, I think, General Ravi Shankar. Death sentence on Hasina without her being present in the Bangladesh court. Will Yunus let elections take place next year?
We don't know. We don't know. Well, we don't know whether he will be able to conduct the elections also. Look, Bangladesh is going into a highly uncertain zone. It's already been an uncertain zone for the past 1 year plus. It's going into an even worse situation. The only good thing of this situation is it's going to have so many internal problems it will not have time to look out.
Yes.
That's the point I'm trying to make. This is the best time for us to sort them out. And you sort them out at minimal levels, right? They don't have a choice. That's fractured completely. You study Bangladesh polity, they're completely fractured. And now they've been no one is supporting them except Pakistan. I mean, people talk of Turkey, all that. Paisa chahiye bhai, kahan hai? He's got nothing. Yeah.
Next question to General Raj Shukla. Thank you so much, Vignesh Karthikeyan, for your generous grant. Sir, we are almost always by L1. Does this stop innovation? Buy cheap, buy twice. People are proud being called cheap. Thoughts? Shuklaji, where to get your book in USA? Unavailable in Amazon USA.
No, my book is available on Amazon USA. I will just send the link to Sri
Yes, sir.
Ayyarji.
We'll share it. We'll
Very
pin
much.
it for you. Absolutely. Yeah.
So that gladdens my heart greatly if you're looking to buy my book. So kind of you. And the second issue is, see, L1 is a total disaster. We must just call it out. It is a pack of nonsense. We just have to call it out. The second point
What is
a very
L1, sir? For the uninitiated, what is L1?
The cheaper vendor.
L1 is that if there are two people with a product, choose the cheaper one. It started off well, but people have learned how to use L1 to do a whole lot of sabotage. It has become a ploy in the Indian system to sabotage good things from happening. The second point is a very pertinent one: regulation versus innovation. This is exactly India's challenge. I'll just give you one example to amplify this. There is a post in India called DGQA. It is a 3-star post. If I join one of the technical arms, I can be the DGQA, which is a 3-star post, quality assurance. And the mandate of the DGQA is to raise objections, regulate. It is the best job on earth. Every day I come and I raise 3 objections. Look what has happened in the case of the Americans in this Det 201 business. I think I spoke on your show a couple of shows back. 4 top technical guys inducted into the American military, and they are told by Secretary Hegseth that pick out the fluff in the American system. They pick out the Black Hawk helicopter, I think I said on your show, and they get the cost down from $144,000 to $3,000 through 3D printing and so on and so forth. Now look, in one example, you have innovation. You are told that if you take this product out, put a product in place and get the cost. Now that is innovation, even in regulation. DGQA has to do no innovation. He has to just keep finding fault with everything. In one of the combined commanders conferences, the Prime Minister told us, he said the Tata Group was complaining to him that they get the best steel from the world, certified from some place abroad, but they have to come and subject it to checks in India. Some agency in India will start regulating it. So in our case, regulation is rewarded. Innovation is not rewarded. So L1 has to stop. Regulation has to be surgically eradicated if innovation has to come.
Next question, please. Bob J. Krishnan wants to know, sirs, will it be too bad for India to agree to the terms of US? After all, we are several years from becoming a developed nation and are surrounded by enemies. Let us follow Israel's example. General Harimon Iyer.
No, politically it will be difficult, if I was to use the word, because we have our own people to answer to, and we have a standing in the world. Israel, as I look at it, has got a different equation. And I guess it will be a very long discourse if one has to examine how Israel is linked to the Americans. Their basic umbilical cord lies in US. Doesn't happen with us. To that extent, I guess as we grow and as we become economically a stronger power, the difficulty to deal with a power like USA, or for that matter even Japan, will become that much more difficult. Because maybe in the yesteryears when we were not powerful enough, they were able to regulate us with whatever it was. We were also willing to accept whatever was given to us. It may not be true today, and it will definitely not be true tomorrow. So it's be very difficult for a nation like India to accept all American terms. There has to be negotiations. Yes, we may have to yield more because we are not equals. That is something which people who are into the negotiation thing must know, where to say that yes, this is beneficial for the growth of the nation, and therefore possibly in these areas we'll yield today, possibly wait for the time when we'll become more stronger and then take a stronger stand in those things. And like General Shukla mentioned, technology is one area where there is no reason for us to not yield. We have to yield because we are technologically not strong enough as it stands. So there has to be a balanced approach, and I think that is how the trade negotiations are happening today. I personally feel it will take, some people say 2-3 years, I think it will take more. It will be negotiated in bits and parts. It will not be a wholesome trade deal as many are expecting.
Thank you so much. And
I'll have to go. Kindly excuse me. The other questions
yeah.
can be taken.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And that brings us to a close of today's program. And what a session it was. And we're going to have more such fruitful sessions in the future. Please do like, subscribe, and share this video wherever you are watching it. And once again, thank you, generals. And we'll see you very soon next Monday.